So we don't have
We got this one coming.
Terry might need one.
What's that? Yeah.
Ready, Barb?
Thank you.
Okay, we'd like to call our council meeting to order for May the 23rd, 2018. I'm serving as the mayor pro tem while the mayor is out of town. We'd like to excuse Mayor Wilson Edwards tonight and also Councilman Phillips. They will not be attending the meeting this evening. We'd like to begin with a prayer, and we've asked Danny Stewart to offer that for us. Following that, Jason Norris will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Dear Father in heaven, we're grateful for the opportunity we have to be here this evening to discuss business of our community. We're grateful for this beautiful community that we're part of and for the blessings and freedoms that we enjoy here. We're thankful for our elected officials for their time and effort that they devote to serving the residents of this community. We pray that they will approach these issues with wisdom and thoughtfulness. We are grateful for all the blessings that we enjoy by living in this community. Invite thy Spirit to be with us during this meeting. We pray for these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
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 Please join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Danny and Jason. All right, the next item on our agenda is to approve the agenda order.
I want to approve the agenda order, but move two things from our consent agenda down into our action agenda. So items 4 and 6, if we could move those down. They just need some further discussion, but approve all the rest of the agenda as it's outlined.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. All right, we'll move into the administration agenda. First on mayor and council business. Council, is there any business we have like to bring up? Okay. All right, staff, any comments from staff at all? Okay. All right, we'll invite Jonathan Stathis to come up from our engineering department and give us a review of the water for 2017.
Good evening, Mayor, or I guess the mayor's not here.
Whatever I
Good
am.
evening, council and staff. My name is Jonathan Stathis. I'm with the City Engineering Department. We've finished up the water report for last year. I sent out just the text of the report by email today. We'll have the full report up on the city website tomorrow for the public to be able to review it. If you go to the next slide. It's a nice slide. This first slide shows the per capita water use. This is the gallons per person per day. We dropped a little bit last year down to 230 gallons per capita per day. So we're staying fairly steady in that range, which is good. Of course, the population has been increasing fairly rapidly the past couple of years. So that means overall the water use is increasing, but we're staying steady as far as the per capita use, which is good. We're continuing to encourage water conservation through our water rates, through education, and through the time of day watering, and that seems to be helping to keep our water use fairly stable. As far as the water rights that were acquired, last year, required 32 acre feet. We're continuing to look at purchasing other water rights as they become available. Almost up to about 20,000 acre feet, which is good, a good number. As far as the overall use, we're using in the range of about 40% of our total water rights. Continuing to follow the state engineers' work that they're doing to implement the groundwater management plan. So that could obviously affect the city's water rights. And so we're, as we continue to look at doing recharge projects and other things, hopefully we can continue to be in good favor with the state engineer and continue to be able to provide water to the citizens. Excellent. As far as the total power costs, the power costs actually dropped a little bit from last year. One thing is, I think has been a benefit is on some of our wells, we've started to go with what's called a variable speed drive, where we can actually adjust the speed of the motor. And so that allows us to use those pumps more efficiently. And so that's something whenever we go and change out the motor controls, we're going to the variable speed drives. And so I think that's one thing that's helping us to save some money as far as our power costs. Next slide. As far as the overall trend of the aquifer, we are still seeing the water table dropping from year to year, average of about 3 feet per year. We had a little bit of more of a drop last year, almost 4.5 feet in the Quichpa area, which is a little bit concerning. But hopefully with the continuation of some of the recharge projects, we had a little bit of a we call it a problem, but we couldn't quite get as much water as we wanted to and recharge last winter because of the modifications at the airport split. And so hopefully we can get that rectified and be able to recharge as much as we have in the past. We were down at about 400 acre feet. In the past, we've been up around 1,800 acre feet that we've been able to recharge. So that's just something that we're looking at.
Can you remind us? I don't remember what happened there. Why is that down?
The irrigation company was working on it for a good part of the winter. We usually recharge from the middle of December until about the middle of March.
Okay, so all that work out there by the Coal Creek Road.
It was under construction for a lot of that time, and then even when they got finished, it's bypassing a lot of the water and sending it to Quichpa. So
that on the airport property, there's a split, and that's the one that the irrigation company was redesigning this.
Oh, okay.
So a lot of that water didn't go that way. It ended up going north instead of coming west towards the airport.
They made instead of being like this, they were catching a lot of debris and gravel, and so they made it steeper with a finer mesh. And so the water, when it's got more velocity, it cascades and almost misses the screen altogether. So it's not catching it. Did you find any options for that, Kit, to where we can?
Well, I haven't run them past the irrigation company yet, but yeah, there's some options.
You're still looking at drilling some holes in the top of
that? Yeah, just allow the water to drop in before it has to go over the screen. And then we'll have some plugs that we can put in those holes during the irrigation season so they don't lose that water.
Go to the next slide. This is just showing the trend. Obviously, we know that that's the way the trend is going as far as the water table.
Which area in Enoch is that? Is that the Enoch Graben, or is that the?
It's more in towards town. We could start looking at one of the. I'll look and see if there's a monitoring well out there by the Enoch Graben. But this is, I think, a little bit more further south. towards town. So, yeah, I know with that project there, we should start seeing that to hopefully stabilize somewhat. So, you go to the next slide. There's just some projects for the water system that we've been working on. Probably the big one is the south tank. We finally got that project all done. It's completely recoated on the inside, and we have that tank back up it's in service now, and we got all the repairs done and everything. So that's been good. The company that came in did a really good job on it, and so we've been real happy with that. We were able to get some spare equipment for the Quichapa wells, a spare pump and a spare motor. We finished the SCADA project. Some of the projects we're finishing up this year, the Haslam Avenue is just finishing up. Orton Excavating has been finishing that. They've done a good job on that project. We're finishing up the Quichapa well. And we've got several other projects we'll be working on this year. One of the ones we're really interested in is the test well by the airport. So we're looking at drilling a well on the south end and seeing what kind of quantity, and we think the quality is pretty good. We've done some initial analysis on that, but we'll see what kind of quantity we can get there, especially with the recharge ponds in that area. It should be good.
What was the
A good well.
TDS on that? Was
It was, you remember what the TDS?
I can't
It was,
remember, but it was well within their limits.
yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
So if I can drill the well and test pump it, it'll give us a little bit better idea what the TDS and the nitrates are. So moving forward on that.
Yeah, we didn't see hardly any nitrates in the initial test.
Yeah, so it should be a good well for us. We'll go next slide. We'll just let you know where we're at as far as the water situation right now. Obviously, we had a fairly poor snowpack this year, but we do still have the watering restrictions in place during the day, and obviously still continuing to encourage water conservation among residents, and then we're continuing to monitor the Division of Water Rights as they continue with the groundwater management plan process. So that's basically the report. Is there any other questions?
I just had a couple of comments. I thought that there was a concern raised. I called Kit about it with our recharge project we're doing by east of Metalcraft off 56. Somebody had asked me about with all the runoff from the streets and different things about groundwater contamination, and I don't think it would be an issue. But I talked to Kit. Did you ever take a sample of that water?
No, I haven't. Right now, I mean, everything's just coming from the irrigation system. So
Okay, but maybe the next storm, could we take a sample and just test it so we can assure people that it's safe and not contaminating anything? And then the other comment I had was Brad Slaw from the USGS sent me an email. Can't remember if I brought this up before, but he sent me an email not long ago that showed the well monitoring levels around where we recharge all the water in the Western Rock Pit. There's some wells that showed some positive gains. So not a lot, but some. I mean, they were in the red 2 or 3 feet, and they've come up a couple feet. So
That's good.
he was excited about that.
Yeah, that's really good. Okay. Any other questions?
Thank you, Jonathan.
Hey, thanks,
Thanks.
Jonathan.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we'll move in to our business agenda. First item is public comments. If there's any of you that would like to address the council on an item that is not on the agenda, you're welcome to come forward and state your name and be as brief as possible. Okay. Seeing none, we'll move into our public agenda, beginning with our consent agenda. To approval of minutes dated May 2nd, 7th, 8th, and 9th, 2018. approve the bills dated May 21st, 2018. Approve single event permit for the Elks Horseshoe Tournament on June 9th, 2018. Approve the property donation to the city of 61.68 acres, 8 miles up Cedar Canyon near Martin's Flat. I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we'll move into the action agenda then, beginning with item 4 that we moved, which was approve allowing Park Discovery to stay open late on May 26th and June 9th in order to show films for the Red Rock Film Festival.
I just had one concern that, did you make any arrangements with them to have the second film like approved? Do we want to approve what they show up in the park?
We have not, typically don't approve the content of what they're showing.
In our city
there some-
parks, we
Is
don't?
there some problem?
No, they came in and presented the first one, what they were going to do, and we approved it. And I just didn't know if we wanted some say in what they're showing, like outdoors in our park or not.
We have not. Not that I know of.
What do you guys think? Do we want to have any say on that, or just trust that go forward?
Well, based on what they described last week, it's going, I don't have a concern on that.
Okay. The other thing that they had asked if they could do concessions, is that covered under their event permit? Because we didn't ever discuss that at all and give them approval.
Yeah, that'd be covered under the event permit. Part of the process here is they said they want to be open till like 11, 10:30, 11 o'clock. When I talked to Wade about it, he said that park's open till midnight anyway, so he didn't understand why it even came to you guys.
Oh.
And when I told the parks folks that for Red Rock, a nice crowd the last year or so has been about 20, 25 folks. They didn't have any hesitation given the area. It's not in a residential neighborhood. They didn't have any hesitation of approving the event permit.
All right. I'll make a motion. We approve them to do their movies, concessions, and be in the park. I guess we don't need to approve that, though, if they already have permission till midnight.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. We'll move now to what was number 6 on the consent agenda that we moved to approve filing an eminent domain action on property owned by Kathleen Slack and Christine Emily located along the west side of Cedar Valley. If there's some of you that would like to address this, you're welcome to come up to the mic and please state your name and be as brief as possible and try not to duplicate your comments. I know there's some that.
I'm Paul Ashdown, son of Marion that owns that property. Our concern is, like we was discussing a little bit before we started, we want to know why we're not going farther west off our property or going down 3900 west. And Councilman Cousins says it's something to do with some pump stations and stuff. We're wondering what the depth of that pipe is, and is it a lot of difference from 39 to where it's at shown on our map, or to not have pump stations and stuff like that. So we're after a little bit of clarification. And like say, we didn't respond to any notices or whatever, and I guess that's a yes vote for letting you go do that. And anyway, that came to Mom, and so we're not really aware of it to a point. But
Paul, where's your property at?
we're just north of the pivots. Oh, there you go.
That piece right there. Both pieces, or?
No, we're this long. That's not working. Something. Oh, right there. We're this property right here.
Okay.
This right here is Cannon. There's Kathleen and Christine's. This is our 42 acres right here. We're just wondering what the depth of your pipe's going to be. originally why we're not coming up here, because you're tying into the sewer right here anyway. We're wondering why you're not going here at the west on State Road and then coming up or whatever you're doing. So
Trevor, can you
anyway,
address their
We need a
questions,
little bit
please? Start with the depth of the pipe and then work back to going up 3,900 and going around to the west.
Hey, Trevor McDonald, Cedar Engineering. As far as I know, I think the depth of the pipe there is between 12 and 15 feet. The reason we went through that line is our preferred path. The sewer line down 1600 north is a 15-inch line, and this one is progressing toward a 27-inch line just to the north of the Slack and Inlay Farm. And the capacity on 1600 north would be exceeded if we tie into that sewer line. So maybe we'd go further west. I think when we looked at tying into that sewer line as well, it doesn't meet the grade. I think it's off by a few feet. Oh, we'd have to come up. We'd either have to lower the 1600 north sewer line, which that's all things are possible, right? But that's going to be costly. Or we could pump it, and we could put in a pump station to get up to the grade of the 1600 sewer line. So
I'm going west around the Ashdown and Slack property.
yeah, so we looked at going west. That's a half-mile deviation if we go down and then back up. And we've got to tie into 4500 west and 1600 north. Adding that additional length of pipe ends up flattening the sewer line to a point where the flow in the sewer line won't meet state regulations. It'll become septic. We won't have a self-cleaning pipe. It essentially won't work as a sewer line, as a gravity sewer line. So or
would we have to pump it?
Or again, we would have to, yeah, that would qualify, that would trigger a pump station. So we'd have to put in another pump station and pump it up around there.
So one of those routes I understood would require 2 pump stations and one.
We have to add one, plus we couldn't eliminate another one, is my understanding. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Right.
And then
The current pump stations?
So the current pump station is just to the south on Cedar Meadows. It's down here on Center Street and 4200 west, I think. Yeah.
That's south of 56.
Right.
So I still haven't got a good explanation why you're not going down 39.
That was our first comment here. If we were to tie in over here and then go down 3900 west, if I remember right, I think this sewer is too high, so we wouldn't make a grade. We would have to pump it to lift it up to that sewer line. And furthermore, this is a 15-inch sewer line, and we're proposing a 24, then going to a 27-inch sewer. It's just not going to have the capacity that we need.
So so last week we talked about you'd put manholes on at least the Slack property. You could put a manhole on the corners on the property line. So once you bury that pipe 15 feet deep, you're not ever going to have to worry about it again.
Yeah, there'd be manholes on south of their property and another manhole north of their property. There wouldn't be any manholes through their property.
There's already overflow coming from the west down our fence. You gonna run into that?
Overflow of
Off the western point.
That's a storm.
Instead of having no, not a sewer, it's the
Storm drain.
It goes down our property line.
Yeah.
That would be a sewer line?
Yeah, we'll go under that.
Yeah, there is a storm drain going through your property, but our sewer line will be much lower than that.
Paul, what was your question about the storm drain?
Well, I just wondered how low I don't know how low we are.
It's only probably probably has about 3 feet of cover on it, where our sewer line would be 9 to 12 feet deep.
How would you miss the manhole with that storm drain being right on the property line?
Come up to the, come on up to the,
We have to have you on the record, like
yeah,
for
we
the
really need to have
minutes,
you on the record.
for us to answer the questions.
Tibbetts, we need to have you on the record.
So what his question is how would you miss the storm drain if you put a manhole right on top of where it is? Is that what you're saying? How would you miss your storm drain if you're putting a manhole right on top of the storm drain, which is just south of our property?
Does that run in between your property and the Ashdown
It runs
property?
right along the edge of
Right on the
their
fence line?
property, yes.
It's on our side, but
Can you address that, Trevor?
So on this sewer line with the sewer outfall line, I think by state regulation, they have a spacing that we can go up to 450 feet. We like to evenly space the manholes out. So without having preference to where manholes go, we would normally just take the distance between beginning to end and divide it by a good common denominator to find a good even spacing.
How wide is the Slack property? What's the distance?
It's only
Mentioned
390 feet, I think,
Yeah.
around
So you
390.
could put a manhole on
On
the
either side.
south
Yeah.
side of Ashdowns, one between Ashdowns and Slacks, and then
Yeah, we'd
space it from there.
we'd straddle their property with manholes.
What about
so we wouldn't do that.
their concern about the storm drain? Can we miss that with the manhole? Okay.
We'll have to look at that, but I'm pretty sure we can do that. If we can go 450 feet between manholes, we've got a lot of options to miss their property and miss the storm drain.
Trevor, how deep are those manholes? It's my understanding that when we do these through farm property, we bury those manholes deep enough that they can farm over the top of them. Is that correct?
Yeah, we have buried manholes. I think we have sought for 4 feet deep. We can work with landowners and find a preferred depth that they want to go.
I know the Slacks were worried about a manhole lid popping off, but if you buried them 4 feet deep, you would never have that concern, would you, with the weight of the dirt on top of the manhole lid?
Well, they wouldn't even have a manhole on their property the way this is going to be designed.
Paul, the challenge with this is it would cost the city $1 million to go around to do this. And the pipe would be so deep, you'd never know it was there. It wouldn't affect. And then let me just tell you a couple, and then the lift stations, we couldn't eliminate one. We have to add another. And we have a lot of risk as a city. If one of those malfunctions and floods people's basements with sewage, we have a huge liability. And then we have the cost to maintain them. They stink. And so it's just,
Cost of running them.
how deep is the 1600 north and 3900? How deep is that pipe right there?
I'll have to pull out those plans and look.
And from 3900 over where our green line is, what size is that pipe?
That's a 15-inch pipe. Are you we talking about from here to here?
How big is that pipe?
So that's a 15-inch line. And I know that
And that's, where's all the sewer going over the sewer plant? Down the blue line?
Yeah, that's I believe a 36-inch line, the blue line.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So everything's tying into there and going to the sewer plant, right?
Yes. That's where the gravity feed line to the
The
sewer.
blue line's already in?
It's already in.
right.
Clear to the treatment plant. It's just showing a little short section of it there.
So Paul, as you and your family kind of digest this, Trevor and I would be happy to sit down with you anytime and answer every question we can.
We don't farm as much as Emily's and Slacks. It's more of a concern to them, I think, than us. We were just there to get some information and see what's going on.
I guess I thought we had approval from everyone but Slacks. I'm kind of confused.
We were a we
didn't
didn't
answer
say
yes
yay
or
or
no.
nay, so you take that as a yay. So,
We
We weren't.
We're
I
looking
wasn't
at
aware.
Verber.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of that either, so.
We were looking at we mentioned verbal agreements. We met with Marion a year ago. This has been a long process. But anyway, we don't have anything written yet for
so if we have
anybody.
one,
I have not signed anything.
Yeah.
yet.
so.
So you don't have a yes out of her.
so
How many other
what's your concern?
non-verbals have you decided were yes?
Oh, this
So we're trying to take minutes, so it's just important for anyone who has comments,
Gonna talk,
they just come
comment,
up and
Karen Marchant. I'm just wondering how many other landowners didn't say one way or the other that you're assuming is a yes, just like my mom. She didn't say yes or no, so you just assumed it was yes. Do we know?
No. Trevor McDonald again. I'd like to correct that for the record. I met with Marion in person back at the end of May last year, and she agreed to do it verbally. Yeah, but we haven't had anything in writing yet.
So what was?
and that's been made clear in all the hearings that we've had verbal commitments, but nothing's in writing. We're not. This all has to be in writing. The city just can't.
Right.
Right. Okay.
If you want to come back up there. Paul Ashdown again. So I think Ken and Emily and their family, Slack and Emily's, their concern is having a manhole on their property, I guess. What can you do about that? How far in between manholes do you have to be?
We can go up 450 feet.
How wide's your property?
With 320, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Around
Or
330
300
is
and
what I
something.
thought.
So can you be a manhole on the edge of either the south or the north side of our property and then skip them?
Manhole here, right? Manhole here, a manhole on the property line, and then a manhole wherever it's spaced equally from there on out.
Well, okay, so we're not because right down that fence line right there is where the drainage comes off of here for rain runoff. So if we put a manhole, that's going to put it farther out into our hay property where that's why we let them go down the road in the first place, because there's a road there already. So Kennan's thing is he wants a manhole. If you can put a manhole here and then on the other side of their property, I think they're willing to let you do that maybe. Is that the case?
That's not the case.
They don't want it there at all. You don't want the pipe there at all?
No, no.
Okay, well, then they need to come up and object to that, whatever. So we're just here for a little bit of information. Our property, and we can sit down with you later. So, thanks.
I mean, I just state for the record, I'm the last person in the world that ever wants to talk about eminent domain, but the manhole's going to be 4 feet deep. It wouldn't affect farming. The pipe would be 12 feet deep. And if you ever develop that property, it would add value to your property because they can tie right into that sewer line. Is that correct? So it actually.
Come up. If you want to say something, come on up.
One thing first, this is Kathleen Slack. Do I need to restate what I stated last week? Or is that of record?
It's on the record.
It's on the
It's on
record.
record
Okay,
that
okay.
you don't want to.
Well, are you talking
Unless-
about the discussion we had after the meeting? I think
No, I'm talking about what I stated.
what you said during the meeting. Okay, yes.
Ken and Emily, if these manhole covers are buried 4 feet deep, how are you guys going to access these manhole covers when you flush your sewer lines or whatever? How's that going to be?
So when we would need to access them, we would excavate them. We would access them and we would put them back.
You drive a track hole to wherever you need to dig up the manhole cover, flush it out, and then rebury it.
And if there's issues with the crops, we would do it at a time when you're not growing. One, we can schedule our maintenance to where it's not in your growing season. And if there's issues that we cause by cleaning our lines, we'll fix whatever issues we cause by cleaning our lines.
So,
So we're not going to come there in the middle of the summer and dig up your crop
right.
and do some cleaning.
So what if there was maybe animals in there in the wintertime or something like that?
If there was horses or livestock,
Yeah.
we would work with the landowner to keep them safe and away from the excavation and keep them in your property and not open gates and let them out. And we would work with the landowners to cause you as least pain and harm as we possibly can.
And
I
I
mean,
think
my position would be, with the amount of money this is saving the city, I would be very in favor of compensating you dearly for this to go across your property.
we don't clean our lines every year. I think it's at least every 3 years, and it's even more than that in certain places. So.
Okay.
Are we at a point where we could reach an agreement?
If there was
Or-
seeding in the winter and you guys told us what you wanted seeded, we'll seed it for you. Whatever we disturb.
Part of the agreement would also involve the city warrantying its work. So we come in and we grade it after. If it's not done how you like it, we could work out a 2-year warranty period, 3-year, whatever it would be. So we'd come in and regrade it if the flood irrigation system wasn't working right, or it's settled. The city wants to keep its citizens as happy as possible. We do whatever we could to make you whole.
Okay. Any other comments?
So when I asked if we could reach some kind of agreement, there were heads that went this way and in an answer to me that said absolutely not. Is that where we are?
So Kathleen Slack, I am not willing to agree to something right now. I'm seeking legal counsel. And so it's going to depend what kind of advice I get from my attorney.
Okay.
Thank you.
And to that, I'll say, Ms. Slack, if you obtain that legal counsel, I'd love the opportunity to sit down with him or her. The way the state law is written, if the council chooses to, you vote on this tonight, if it is granted, the city has to wait a minimum of 30 days before I could file an action in the court. And that one of the purposes for that is to give an additional 30 days for the parties to get together and try to resolve it.
Okay.
Karen Marchand again. Speaking for my mother, she's not willing to say yes at this point. She wants more information. So I don't know if that means she needs to sit down with you, Tyler. But at this moment, I don't know what kind of conversation she had with this gentleman behind. But I would suggest from now on that whoever needs to talk to her needs to have me or my brother there with them.
Yeah.
Because we kind of take care of the the property.
Sure.
So anyway, right now her answer is no, she doesn't want this to happen, but I think she's willing to get more information.
So at this point, Tyler, would we want to, if she's seeking legal counsel, would we want to table this for a bit until we work out some compensation and some of those details? Or is this something we need to vote on tonight?
So we're talking about Ms. Slack's property or the Ashdowns?
Well, we had a verbal, but now I guess we don't. So how does that affect everything?
Well, when it comes to a timeline of when we need to get this project done, it would be my advice that we pursue forward with the Slacks property. But I will reach out I know I have Paul's number. I'll reach out to Paul, set an appointment where all four of us and Trevor can sit down, and then we'll go from there on the Ashdown property.
But in terms of a critical path to get this project going in the time frame that we think, we need to act on this evening, is my sense.
Yes, and Trevor, I don't know if you have additional information on the timeline that we're trying to hit here.
I'll put that back. Trevor McDonald again, Cedar Engineering. We were looking at beginning this last winter. Looking at future development, I know we've got quite a large development that will need this line that is, it might be on the agenda tonight for a zone change. I'd say we're right there at due time, but I don't know if I can give a specific critical path or a firm deadline on this is the cutoff date. So.
Well, first of all, I'd like to state I never thought I would be voting for an eminent domain either, but based on Tyler's outline of the timeline, that I would make a motion that we go ahead and approve that process to start. That gives you guys 30 days that, you know, you can get with your attorney, get with Tyler and whatnot. We can stop the process if we come to an agreement and whatnot, but that would move it forward so we can come to a resolution so it doesn't just drag out. So that would be my motion.
I second that motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to item number 7 on our action agenda, which is consider an ordinance for the general land use amendment from low-density residential to medium-density residential on property located in the vicinity of 200 North and 2800 West. Heath.
Heath Overson, Go Civil. We discussed this last week. It's across the street from the Diamond Z Arena and behind the existing development that has proceeded this last summer. And for refresher, it's our intent to do more of the same, probably 8,000 to 8,500 square foot lots, where the last was 7,500 square foot lots. This portion in front that's built, which is down from 10,000, which is what it was. And that's the purpose of the general plan amendment and the zone change is the next agenda item. Both get us down to about 8,500 square feet. We just barely redid the layout on those lots. They're going to be about 75 feet wide and 108 feet deep. So a little bit bigger than what's there right now.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we need a roll call, beginning with Councilwoman Hartley.
Aye.
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 Thank you. Okay, item number 8 is to consider an ordinance amending the zone from R1 residential to R2-1 residential on property located in the vicinity of 200 North, 2800 West.
Same place, but a zone change, right?
Same scenario. The zone change is subsequent to general
Move to
plan
approve.
Second.
Okay, roll call, beginning with Councilman Cousins.
Aye.
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 Thank you. Okay, item number
Thank you.
9. Thank you, Heath. Is to consider an ordinance for the general land use amendment from medium density residential to high density residential on property located in the vicinity of 829 South Spruce Street. Bob?
Good evening, Bob Platt. I'm not sure what else needs to be said other than what we talked about last week. This property is R2. Presently, this property is R3M. This little small parcel is R2. And the request is for a general plan change to R3M and then change the zone to R3M. Amend the general plan first.
The one just east of Dairy Queen, right?
Yes, right behind Dairy Queen.
Yeah.
Both vacant properties right now.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, roll call, beginning with Councilwoman Hartley.
Aye.
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 Thank you. Okay, item number 10 is to consider an ordinance amending the zone from R2-2 residential to R3-M residential on property located in the vicinity 829 South Spruce.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, roll call vote, beginning with Councilman Cousins.
Aye.
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 Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Bob. Okay, item number 11 is to consider a ordinance for the general land use amendment from medium density residential to high density residential on property located in the vicinity of 4400 West, SR 56. And
Welcome back, Mayor.
Yeah.
Do you miss us?
Good to be previous Mayor Burgess.
Better sitting and looking that way.
I was going to call on you to pray, but I thought that'd be really cruel.
This property about 13 years ago was annexed into the city, and it was zoned a master plan zoning, and we have purchased that from the developers, and we're wanting to change that back to R2 property from the master plan, and we want to take a corner of that. I'm sure you looked at that last week, 23 acres, and have that be R3 medium density, and then another 15 acres for a commercial zone. And to do that, we have to amend the master plan for the R3 and for the commercial, not for the R2. Is that correct, Kit?
Okay, any comments or?
No, move to approve.
Second.
Okay, beginning with Councilwoman Hartley.
Aye.
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 Thank you. Okay, item number 12 is to consider the ordinance amending the zone from master plan development to CC R2-1 and R3-M on the property located vicinity of 4400 West SR 56.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, beginning with Councilman Cousins.
Aye.
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 Okay, thank you.
Thank you, and it's good to be back only for a minute.
All right.
Thanks,
Enjoy your
Joe.
evening.
Yeah. Okay, item number 13 is to consider approval of the fiscal year 2018-2019 tentative budget. Jason Norris.
All those minutes we read. Covering 2 days of budget meetings.
Yes. Jason Norris, Finance.
Exciting.
It was.
Yeah, there won't be as many exciting minutes from this version, but as you all know, we've been working through the initial drafts of our fiscal 19 budget. Tonight we'll be approving the tentative version of that budget. We made a few minor changes from our prior discussions. We had 2 fee updates for the library. We've added $5 late fees for the telescope rental and artwork rental. In the general fund, we added $1,000 to each of the 3 budgets for the Women's Crisis Center, the Children's Justice Center, and the Iron County Care and Share. So those 3 budgets were $5,000 each. They're now $6,000. Based on discussions we've had, we considered some version of a planning and zoning new employee position. Staff met internally, went through the parameters of the job description, and also met with the compensation committee. So we've funded that position with a salary estimated at about $50,000. That's where we'll start the posting for the position. So you'll see that in the budget, and that position is funded in the engineering department. It will report to Mr. Wareham. And we had a slight reduction in the animal control budget. I had the wrong number for the cost of turning the animal control officers' vehicles into patrol-worthy vehicles. So I think it was $50-some thousand. It's about 30 to get those positions equipped and the right equipment in the vehicles. So that, I believe, is all the changes.
So the total package for that planning and zoning position is something north of 80,000, right?
Yes.
Benefits
and everything, which reminds me, I actually did adjust. Thanks for bringing that up. We adjusted the engineering budget. We added some funding for computers, office equipment, supplies, etc. So we've adjusted so that position will have travel and training funding and everything associated, so that they'll be able to function and operate within the engineering budget. So
Benefits, health insurance,
Sure.
Retirement, long-term disability, all those typical
Yep.
insurances that we pay on employees.
Did you say you had job description?
I do not, but
We do.
they do. Yes.
Was it, I missed it when he said it, how he worded it. Was it the planner / zoner?
So the job description was developed, well, Natasha, myself, Kit, Drew, and Mayor Wilson all had input into the job description. And the broad parameters we started with was a guy or a lady that's going to be a zoning professor and very theoretical versus a worker guy or lady.
Okay.
And we tried to come somewhere into the middle so that it's not somebody that's so theoretical that they can't interface with our current system and use what we have and move it forward. And it's not somebody that can't give us any of that vision to expand where we're at and develop into new areas.
Okay. Sounds great.
Oh, that sounds like a good.
Yeah, that's,
middle
I
ground.
just want to make sure we had the mix.
That's how we wrote the job description. Now hiring.
I figured you would.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll be
Now you
curious to
just-
see that in writing.
Yeah.
Now you just have to execute. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. we haven't good hands. We know that, but thank you. That's good. That's great. Okay.
Well, that's all I have.
That's all you have?
Yes.
Gosh. Thank you, Jason.
I would move to approve the tentative 2018-2019 budget.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
And I would move that we close this meeting now and move into closed session.
Okay. We have a second.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
No, we didn't.
It's like this. It's running on water. Right? It's not gonna affect anybody. It's just.
We should have 30 days. If we just have 30 days, I might say we'll table it for 2 weeks if they want.
Step up.
They do.
They're citizens.
They can't look good. I really don't feel that pressure on that.
I
It's
didn't
front
know.
page in the Spectrum.
I would have if there was a tie, but we wouldn't have that luxury because there's 3 council members.
One young man.
And I don't usually vote when I'm the mayor unless I have to. Like there was a chance
Oh, then you
that
wouldn't come out?
Yeah.
Councilman Cousins was going to be gone tonight. And we still would have been able to conduct business. I'd check with legal. Then I would have been voting as well. But we have 3. We're good.
I have one of those. I printed one out. Is it the same one?
What's that?
Okay.
Yeah.